it's a dream of mine to, not that my kids have to join my team or have to be in mortgages, but I want to grow to the point where I do have, at some point I want to get into real estate development. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
But I want to get to a point where my kids can do anything, right? If they want to be a lawyer, accountant, whatever, but I want to be big enough to where my kids could potentially work for me. What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Justin Rodriguez, your favorite lender here in Neighborhood Loans, and we're back with another episode of Cafecito Talks. And honestly, this one hits home, okay? I think this is a very, very special episode for me because one of the main things is that I wanted to have a Latina in this show, not only a Latina, but Latina mom that's actually killing in the real estate game. Want to make sure that, you know, you get all different perspectives on everything. And ever since I had my first daughter, I think life changes, right? You have a bunch of different perspectives. And I knew this guest was going to be very, very, very empowering because of her situation that she was. She's actually a mom at 18 years old. Now she has her own team called the Jiménez group. And it's cool to see how everything around her life is circled around family. So it's really important for me to have a special guest like this. So Leyla, thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'm so honored.
For sure. No, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I think, I mean, obviously time is the most valuable part. We were talking about time is super, super important. It's a little scrunched, especially being a mom. So give us a background on yourself. I know your journey starts with being a mom very early. And, you know, obviously now you have your own real estate team. But give us a background on yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I became a mom at 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I was not financially stable. I barely had a job. I was in my first year of college. And then life hit me.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, shit. Like, things got real. I quickly realized that I had to grow up and do something for my son and provide and, you know, stabilize my life. And so I started working at an insurance company. I didn't even have insurance myself at that time.
Wow.
I didn't even know it was like a requirement or anything. It was just, you know, I started working. One of the requirements actually was to get insurance. So that's when I decided to get liability, minimum coverage.
Yeah.
And then I got introduced to the real estate world. And obviously I was thinking like, hey, you know, I'm going to have a flexible schedule. I'm going to work a few hours a day and call it a day. I'm going to be able to pick up my son, drop him off at school, go to his events. But little did I know, it was 6 a.m. to 11, 12 o'clock gig.
Yeah.
But I'm completely obsessed with it.
Yeah.
I love what I do. I'm going on 9 years in October already.
Nice, yeah.
And by the grace of God, you know, it's going good. There was a lot of times where I said, hey, I got to get a real job. I got to get me a 9 to 5. But I'm so happy that I was able to persevere and keep going. And now I can finally say that I'm established and I'm doing good.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the most interesting part about your journey, right? And one thing I love about it is I felt, and I don't think you're ever going to feel like comfortable or 100% sure you're ready to have a kid, right? I think that's something that is an unspoken rule that no one really knows. No, you're never going to be like, okay, I'm ready to have a kid. Even when you say you're ready, you're not really ready. It's something that you can't prepare for, right? So what was your perspective on your journey overall when you became 18 years old? Were you scared? Like what was going through your minds? Because I think there's a lot of viewers out there that can really honestly relate to you in that situation. So what was your mind going through when you were going through that?
So listen, I have always been a hustler. I've never been scared of hard work.
Yeah.
That's my thing. It doesn't scare me, right? However, I was selfish. I was all about me. I liked to dress well. I liked to just take care of myself ever since I was young. But when I found out I was pregnant, it didn't really scare me. I was just like, oh, okay, it's part of life. Like, let me just do what I have to do. I should have been scared. I should have been scared, and I wish I would have been more prepared.
Yeah.
But I would tell you, and to your point that you're never prepared, I had my second child at the age of 30. That's 11 years difference. Yeah. And I can tell you that even though, yes, I was financially stable, I had a place, I had a career, it was scarier than when I was 18.
Really?
because I was more aware. I knew what was awaiting. I knew the responsibility.
Yeah.
Where when I was 18, I didn't.
Yeah.
And so you're never going to be ready.
Right. Right. No,
You're
yeah.
never going to be 100% ready.
Yeah.
But obviously, you know, they're blessings to my life, and they are the ones that make me fight harder and be resilient and just overcome any obstacle.
Yeah. And I can share that experience. I mean, for me, when I first found out, you know, it's funny. I don't think I've ever really told anybody the full story, but we were in New York, and when we were in New York, we were taking an Uber to Manhattan, and my girl was like, "Okay, we got to stop the car." Like, I would pull over, I feel nauseous, and I'm like, "Okay, whatever." But not to be too TMI, but her period, she wasn't late,
Yeah.
so I'm like, "Oh no, you're straight. You know,
Yeah.
you always get nauseous. You're fine." Whatever. So you fast forward, and that moment, it was kind of weird, but I didn't think anything of it because it's happened before, right? She's gotten, you know, nauseous before, so it's nothing crazy. So we go home, and she's 2 days late. So we're like, all right, so should we take a test, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, okay, we're fine,
Yeah.
dude. You've been late before. It's nothing crazy.
Yeah.
And then the test came back with
Wow.
the line. I'm like, all right, well, you know, that's 2 lines, you know, but one is faint, so maybe, yeah, you know, we'll take a second one. The second one's words.
Yeah.
You ain't know it. It's a pregnant straight up. So you're like, all right, we don't got a choice. And so at that point in time, you know, obviously in the back of my mind, as a man up front, you're like, babe, we got it. We'll figure it out. No worries. But in my mind, I'm like, oh shit about to get real. You know, it's about to get real now. And so your perspective changes right at that moment.
Absolutely.
You're like, lights a fire in your ass, and you're like, all right, now it's time to do exactly what I've been doing. You know, like I've always been motivated and disciplined, but now this kind of amplifies that. Now it's on a different level, and now I know what my true purpose is. Right. At first, you're like you said, you're working for yourself up front. When you have a kid, now you're working for your family. Now you're a unit. Now you have to come together and figure out how you guys can essentially grow together. So that way, at one point in time, your kids don't have to work as hard as you did. Exactly. And that's the way that my perspective kind of changed. Now, I think one thing that's interesting about your story is obviously you're Latina. Like, it's really hard to come up, number one, as a mom, because I tell people all the time, when you're a mom, like, your responsibility is a lot harder to kind of bear with, because I think there's always that motherly instinct. You're always going to have that mama bear, like, I got to take care of my kids. I got to pick them up. I got to do this, Exactly. And you guys have so many different things that go in your day. How was it with that journey, having your first kid, 18 years old, to build the real estate team that you've built so far?
To be honest, I feel that having a child was what pushed me to build a team.
Kind of forced you.
I probably wasn't ready.
Yeah.
I wasn't like making all this money where I could afford a team. But I knew what my purpose was. And I knew that I didn't want to spend a lot of my time at work. I wanted to be there for my kids. And so it kind of just pushed me to go for it and get an assistant right away, a buyer's agent. Actually, my brother passed his real estate exam the day that I gave birth.
Wow.
To my little one.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And so, you know, again, being obsessed with real estate, I was in the delivery room working. You know, I had a closing. I had to. Like, what am I going to do?
Right.
So then my brother calls and he's like, hey, I think I passed my test. And I said, great, go to the closing for me. He's like, what's that? How do you do that?
Yeah.
I was like, you got to do a final walkthrough, which means you open up, you know, you show the property again.
Yeah.
And then you go to the closing. So he did that blindsided. He had no idea what he was doing. But again, you just have to work with what you have.
Yeah. That's
so.
I can't even imagine. My experience was different. You know, like ours was when we were in the labor room. You know, everything happened pretty quick. And like we got blessed. Like, knock on wood.
Yeah.
The first baby was Leilani was the biggest blessing. It was quick, 1, 2, 3. Like it was really quick. But you know, you could see I have so much more respect for women after you see and experience with them what they go through when you're giving birth. So now it's different. You have a different perspective when it comes to women. So you get more appreciation for what they go through, right? And just overall, you guys are strong. Like you guys, I give you guys all respect and everything. So I can't imagine working though. Like, how did you even get the strength to work at that time? Like, you know. Were you having contractions while you're working? Like,
kind of, yeah. And actually, I was going through a emergency C-section. So it wasn't even. It was like 3 weeks early.
Yeah.
With the second one, the first one was about 6 to 8 weeks early.
Yeah.
So both of them premature, both of them C-sections.
Oh my gosh.
Both of them like emergency surgeries.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But with the second one, I kind of already knew. I had been through it. I went through it when I was 18. So in my head, I'm telling myself like, hey, you're prepared now. You're older. You're wiser.
Right.
I had her on a Tuesday, and next week Thursday I was at a showing.
After a C-section?
After a C-section, I don't know. I couldn't stay home. I don't know if maybe it was a way of me avoiding depression, the postpartum depression.
Yeah.
I didn't want to stay home.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, so maybe I shouldn't have gone out to a showing.
Yeah.
I didn't even get the buyer under contract.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was just a way of me dealing with maybe postpartum depression.
Right.
I had to leave the house.
Right.
But other than that, I'm used to being under pressure.
Yeah.
I'm used to having limited resources. And so I pretty much just worked with what I had, and I made it work.
Yeah.
I would go to showings with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
They know what I do. They've been to closings, showings, inspections, and so it's just a way of life.
Yeah. That's your way of life. And I think life's all about perspective and happiness. I share very similar traits in that regard. Like my baby, we were 2 weeks into when our Leilani was born, and she actually got RSV. It was a crazy experience. Like we were home for like a week, and then all of a sudden we're back in the hospital because she had RSV. So it was like a crazy experience. And so honestly, I had to take like almost like a month off because kind of not even a month off because I was still working. So the first week and a half, I was like, okay, I'm completely off. I want to enjoy this moment. And then when she's back in the hospital, I set myself about a week, 2 weeks around there of time off, and then she came to the hospital. So now we come back to the hospital, and like you, I'm very like. I gotta go. I'm like, I can't be in one place at one time. Like if I have a day off, the first thing I'm like, okay, maybe I can cut the grass. Maybe I could do this. Maybe I could cook. What should I cook today? What should we do? Like I want to do something. I can't just be sitting in one place and watching TV all the time. So similar enough, when my baby had RSV, it was very much so like that. The business was still running. So now I'm still running the business. Nothing could change. Nothing stops. When you have closing pre-approvals, all those things, they still need to get done, right? And you set the right people up, similar to your brother, to where they kind of streamline the business. But you still, at a certain point in your heart, you're like, no one can run a business like me, right? Like no one could kind of hold it down like me. Yeah. And one thing my uncle always tells me is as much as the people in your team are important to you and they help you run the business like a well-oiled machine, you never want to give them the satisfaction enough to where they're irreplaceable, because you have to know your own value. And if everything were to hit the fan at one point in time, you got to figure out and realize that you could run your own business at some point, right? So that was something that kind of crossed my mind. I'm like, okay, time to get back to work, in the hospital, working, whatever. And that was something in my eyes in that moment. You kind of realize that when you're a breadwinner, when you're the sole provider, you have to figure it out, right? No matter what, it's not that you're doing bad for your family. It's that you're providing for your family. Right. In the perspective of a caveman, right? Yeah. If a caveman had to go, the wife had to stay there with the kids, and the man just got to go hunt, right? And it's the same situation. In your situation, you're going out and you're hunting for your family and you're providing for your family. So I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. But I think for you, I find it very interesting. I love the fact that your team is based around family, right? Like how much meaning does family mean to you?
Oh my goodness, it's everything. It's everything. All my values, my beliefs, and the team's culture is based around family. And so I always told myself, I remember my mom, a little quick backstory. My brother has spina bifida. He's about, I believe he's like 41, 42 years old, and has had over 45 surgeries. 45 surgeries. And so growing up, not only did we grow up in the hospital, Children's Memorial Hospital, our food would also be provided by McDonald's all the time. Mind you, I didn't know any different. So I thought we were living the life. I was like, okay, McDonald's is feeding us. Now that I'm a grown up and I have my own kids, I'm like, oh crap, maybe that wasn't that normal. Maybe that wasn't that normal. But however, my mom would always either lose her job or they wouldn't see her as a valuable asset to the company. She was unreliable, but she was a single parent. And imagine your child going through 45 surgeries from birth. And so obviously she always chose to be there.
Of course.
So she would always lose her job, and I always told myself, because I've always had, again, that hustler mentality, right? I knew I was going to do something. I knew that what I wanted. And so I told myself, I'm not going to allow anyone on my team to ever feel that.
Right.
To ever feel minimal compared to anyone else.
Right.
And so our team is really based on that family value. Mm-hmm. If you need time off, that's perfectly fine. Work is going to get done. And I feel because of the culture that we've built, I don't have to like micromanage. Yeah. I don't have to be behind people's backs or anything like that. Everyone knows their roles. Everyone has expectations, and we all just put in the work.
Yeah. And I love that. I think that one of the main important parts is environment. Yeah. For me and my team, it's super important. Yeah. I think that I tell my team every single day, everything that you're doing right now, I have done. So don't feel as if there's anything beneath you. Yeah. And if I got to pick up the shoes and pick up the slack on the things that you're doing, I will 100% pick up the slack and I will figure it out. I
love that.
And it's the same thing for you guys. I'm sure that when people need time off, you could take time off. You could take a vacation. I think everyone needs time for themselves. Yeah. But for everyone to understand is the more people we add, the more times that you're going to have to learn to delegate. Mm-hmm. So I delegate to Carmen. Now Carmen is going to have to learn to delegate to Angel, mm-hmm. my cousin, right? So as you kind of grow, you're learning how to delegate as you grow. And I think that there should always be growth for everyone in your team. Like, you want to figure out how you can help each other grow in every situation. And I find it very, I just love the fact that it's surrounded by family for you, because there's nothing, one most important part for me is loyalty. Yeah. There's nothing more important for me than to have a loyal team around you. And that's what you've built. Yeah. A team that's going to be loyal. God. Yeah, I know. Right? Yeah.
Thank God.
But I think one of the things that stands out to me about your journey, I want people to kind of have a good understanding for you, right? Being that you had a kid at 18 years old and you were able to kind of build everything that you've done thus far, what advice would you give yourself, 18-year-old yourself, and share that advice so all the other young, Latina women that might be in your situation, what advice would you give them to be in the shoes that you're in right now?
Oh my God. I would say think big.
Yeah.
Think big. That's my thing. I've never thought that I would be where I'm at now. And I'm not even at my full potential. Mm-hmm. It's just, growing up, I had so many walls up, so many reasons not to succeed. Growing up in back of the yards and, again, single parent households, low income, mm-hmm. Living off food stamps and all that. And so I never thought that I could achieve what I've done at this point. And so if I can just give my 18-year-old advice, would be grind. Mm-hmm. Grind harder. Don't let anyone stop you. Don't let anything stop you. Because again, being a mom, I wasn't supposed to succeed. Statistics were against me. Right. And my husband was 18 too. Mm-hmm. And we're together going on 19 years now.
Congrats. That's
awesome.
Thank
you. And so think big, and you can, it's not, I know it's such a cliche, but you can really achieve anything you want.
Mm-hmm.
The key is to be consistent, though. Being consistent really has changed my business. And believe it or not, it's probably one of the hardest things I've learned. And I just started being consistent in the business, I would say, mm-hmm. maybe like 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. But if I can go back, I would just train myself to kind of just, just work hard. Not work harder, pero, because I've always worked hard. But just be consistent on what you believe works.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think in your eyes did you learn, or what switch flipped from the moment that you knew, okay, I have to be more disciplined, I have to be more consistent? What perspective changed, and what do you think changed in your business when you did that?
You know what? Going to the gym.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy, mm-hmm. but mm-hmm. dude, the gym to me is, I don't care if I have to dig my car out of the snow. Yeah. I don't care if I have a flat. I'm going to sit there, pump air on that tire
mm-hmm.
till I'm good to go.
Yeah.
There is nothing that will stop me from going to the gym. I felt sick you know, I've gotten home 3-4 o'clock in the morning. I wake up and I go to the gym. And it did something to me. It's not just like physical, right? It's just mentally.
Yeah.
The fact that I've trained myself to be consistent in that one thing, I said, I can implement this in the business and use it in the business.
Mm-hmm.
If I did it for the gym, for, you know, for my mental state, I can do it. I can be consistent. So I feel like we all know how to be consistent. It's just sometimes we're consistent in the wrong things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if you're just consistent on what you want to accomplish.
Yeah. That's okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Then you can make it happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's crazy, but yeah, the gym.
No, I mean it's something that I actually preach to people. You know, it's funny that you say that, because one thing that when I first got into the industry, right? You know, Dwight, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Dwight got me in the industry and I was an intern. But one thing he taught me was to have that routine, that discipline. One thing I treated my business like a 9 to 5. So one thing I always had to make sure, I lived in Bolingbrook at the time. So I'd wake up, get up, go to the gym 5 a.m, 5 to 6, get home, shower, go to the office, get there early. And that was the thing that kind of set me straight for when I got my license. Because when you have that certain level of discipline, it's going to help you excel your business, right? So one thing that I've always have done thus far is kind of study those who I want to be like, right? Study individuals who are already successful. Study people who are better than you, so that way at one point in time you could become as successful as they are. And it's not even about mortgages. It's not about real estate. It's about people outside of this business that I look up to. And the one thing that they always talk about is being disciplined, consistent, going to the gym. And setting that in that little small principle of going to the gym sets your whole entire day up. And I honestly, my best ideas come from the gym. Like, it's just me sitting in a gym lifting, and I'm like, okay, maybe I could do this event, or maybe I could do this podcast, or maybe I could do this, and maybe I listen to a podcast, maybe I listen to something that gives me a good quote, and it motivates me for me and the rest of the entire day. So it sets the right expectation for the entire day. So I love going to the gym. You know,
same here. Just having that routine, right?
Yeah.
And with that being said, my kids see me have that routine, and so. They're picking up on it, especially my little one. She's like, hey, you know, are you going to the gym? Let's go to the gym. Or you know, little things like that I didn't have growing up. And so I'm just excited to see what they get to accomplish, because they have that one person, that one role model, or that one example that they can follow. So my goal is to kind of just continue to do that, continue to grow myself so that they have someone to look up to. Yeah,
I love that, because that's something that I talk to my family about all the time. I talk to my girl, and obviously my baby don't understand me now, but that's something that's the foundation I want to set. I'm going to the gym every single day, and I'm going to the trenches. So there's no excuses for you. The days I don't want to go, I go. So I'm setting the expectation for you guys. So at one point in time, now you guys wake up and say, oh, that's going to the gym again. Now I got to pick up my pieces, right? Like, and that's something for me that's super important, is setting the foundation for my family and them having a good understanding. Like, hey, if my dad could do it, why can't I do it?
Absolutely.
You know, and that's super powerful to me. Super powerful to give back to your family and giving that sort of perspective.
But, and then also, so when you don't want to go to the gym, and you end up going, it turns your day around. Oh yeah, 100%. That feeling of not going, that hurts.
It's a small win. That's all you need, though. All you need is a couple small wins. You keep going. You go win by win. And like you said, when you don't go to the gym, that's a big L. You start the day, you're like,
not today.
I want to go back to sleep. Do I want to work? You know.
And it's that compound effect.
Yeah.
You know, you don't see it. It's not something that's gonna happen in 1 week, in 1 month. I'm going on 3 years, and so I'm just so excited and so pumped all the time about the gym. It really just sets the tone for me.
No, 100%. You talked something exactly what you're talking about is compound, right? And that's the funny thing about our business is it's the same exact concept. You know, like it's like a snowball. You start the business, you keep doing the little things, and you might be like, okay, well, I'm posting on social media every day. Why am I not getting business? Or, hey, I'm doing events every month. Why am I not getting business from the events that I'm doing? But the two examples I'd like to give to people who are watching or who are in some sort of sales, the first one was we did social media. Obviously, I would say 100% of my business comes from social media, because the relationships that I built with agents, you know, obviously you get people from social media that reach out to you. All of those things that happen all stem from social media, building relationships. That's the one thing that I'll say. Coffee shops, all this stuff, all those things have been through social media. So all the business has been funneled through social media, but it wasn't from the beginning. I didn't know anybody when I got into business. When I went to events, everybody knew Dwight. No one knew who I was because I was the intern in neighborhood loans. You know, like that was something that helped me kind of give me some sort of brand, give me something out there, Cafecito. You know, all that kind of established that.
Right,
but I didn't have the expectation that this was gonna give me a whole bunch of leads every single month. I'm gonna be able to distribute to. No, I never had that mindset. It was just let me build a brand. And then hopefully people could gravitate towards me, and now I could do business with everybody. I want to do as much business as with everybody as possible. But then the other example I have is not letting go of that face-to-face encounter, like talking to people, making sure you're networking with people. And what I mean by that is I was doing a barbershop event for a long time. We probably did 6 barbershop events, and all we would do is we would go buy food for people. We'd go ahead and for the barber's clients, we'd buy food, drink, smoke cigars, and network. That's all we did. Not even network. We were just talking to people. Whoever came up to us came up to us. If they didn't, they didn't, you know. But we would just talk to people. We were very social. Oh, do you want food? Do you want this, that? And it built and sparked a lot of conversations. We didn't get business for the first, I would say, 3 months, or like even the first 5 months. And I'm like, man, we're doing a lot of these, and we're not getting any business from really. But it wasn't until like month 6 we got 1 client. It goes 2, it goes 3, and it was like residual, like 6 months before. And I'm like, "Where'd you go? Oh, I got your car from the barbershop event. Oh, cool, bro." And then the barbers start buying houses, and then it's like it's a snowball, and you start picking up the pieces, and you figure out where these people actually came from. Oh, it's the event that I did 6 months ago. So it's the work. All that stuff is residual, and it all comes tenfold. You know,
planting seeds, right?
100%, 100%. Is that? What do you think propelled your business the most? Was it more so face-to-face encounter? What do you think kind of helped you the most grow your business?
Oh, definitely face-to-face, especially for my audience. Yeah. My business is about 78% referrals past client business. I don't buy any leads or anything like that, but it is because of the several touches I do per year with my clients. I do client appreciation events. I do events at my home, at my home property. And so that's just what's been helping me. I'm not your forever realtor for no reason.
You go all the carne asadas,
I do. And so I just think it's really important to build that connection from the very beginning, whether they're not even ready to buy, whether they're renters. It doesn't matter who it is. Build that honest, loyal relationship from the very beginning. And that has really been what has turned my business, not turned it around because I've always done that, but it's helped my business grow.
And what would you say, I always tell people this from my perspective, is I don't think the stuff that I'm doing currently is super outlandish or super crazy that anybody in this world can't do it because I do it best. And what would you say your perspective for a young individual either getting in the business of real estate or any type of sales job? Do you think the stuff that you're doing is super hard for anybody to do, or what tips would you give someone that's starting the business of sales?
It's not hard to do at all. I just wish I had the confidence to do it before.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I didn't have was confidence.
Yeah.
That's something that I've had to learn. Because I knew what I was doing. Yeah. I knew that my my values were there. I knew that I was an honest person, but I just didn't have it in me. Yeah. I would always just have excuses. Yeah. I was always comfortable with being comfortable. I didn't push myself in being uncomfortable. Right. And it's not until I pushed myself that things changed. So I would just say you can do anything that everyone else is doing. And even with a smaller budget, it doesn't even matter. Right. Just get in front of people.
That's so true.
Not everyone's going to like you, and it's okay. No. Find your people.
And I love that because I think one thing that you just said there is true. Do what everybody else is doing, but put your own spin to it. You know, I think people use Leyla Jiménez because you're yourself, right? I can't be you, right? But I could be myself. And that's why I tell everybody, you know, you can go on my Instagram and take every single video I've done. I'm not going to take offense to it. I'm going to be like, I'm going to cheer you on, honestly, because you're your own person. I'm not going to be able to create the videos that you're doing, you know, and that's why for me, it's never like, I didn't create all the videos myself. I look at other people that inspired me. I go and I put my own spin to it because I'm Justin Rodriguez. That person is X, Y, and Z. So one thing that I feel like a lot of people kind of shy away from is just learning or taking other people's inspiration and putting your own spin to it. Like, oh, I want to be original. It's not about being original. It's about figuring out how you could put your own spin to the things that people that inspire you, and how can you generate your own leads? How can you generate your own business by looking at other individuals who are doing the things that you're doing? Nothing wrong with grabbing a coffee and telling people like, hey, how did you grow your business? What are you doing that can make you a little bit more successful today? And that's why I tell people all the time, our business isn't hard. The hard part is waking up and being disciplined every single day, because we don't have anybody that's micromanaging us. We're the lead generators. We got to figure out how we're going to get more business. So it's figuring out what money-making activities are you doing on a daily basis. What are you doing to become a great leader, so that way your team members can go out there and get more business, and now you guys are all collectively going together. And those are the things that are going to excel your business in times that nobody else is going to be doing, because you're disciplined, you're doing it on a daily basis. I always tell people, our business, the game of real estate and sales, is a game of discipline. Okay? Anybody can sell a home. Anybody can write a mortgage. Anybody can do an application. But who's disciplined enough to get the business? Right? And one of the person that I do kind of look up to are a lot of these people who are motivational speakers. And I look at them, and they're very well spoken. They're very, very well spoken. But I look at them and I'm like, what they've done is they just done it for a consecutive amount of time. They've done it for 5 to 7 years, right? So if I give myself 5 to 7 years in this business, where can I be? Where can I end up? If I just every single day, 365 days, give it 110% for 5 to 7 years, where can you be? And I look at that and I'm like, that's 100% correct. Like, imagine you give yourself 5 to 7 years and just dedication for the next 5 to 7 years. Where do you think yourself will be? I guess where do you think you see yourself in 5 to 7 years if you were just like, every routine that you set for yourself, you do it on a daily basis, and you come in with the mentality of, I'm going to get in, I'm going to get business, and I'm going to do it 9 to 5 and just set it for the next 5 to 7 years. Where do you see yourself?
I see myself just perfecting my team here. Closing the amount of deals that I'm set to close. I always fall short every year. That's because I always have bigger goals. But I'm okay with that. And doing the same thing in Florida. I am licensed in Florida as well.
Nice.
Yeah, and so I just want to, I have a lot of family over there, and we travel a lot over there, and I'm not going to stop traveling. My kids love to travel, and it's something that we do a lot. But I also want to make money when I'm over there.
Right.
And so I will have a team in Florida as successful as the one I have here in Chicago.
One thing that's funny is that you said is that you're going to be in Florida, be like, hey, primo, you sure you don't want to sell? You got to pay for this trip.
Exactly.
I think everything is about manifesting too. You got to figure out and see what your dreams are. If your dreams and goals are to doing business in Florida and both, you got to like write it down. Say, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to do it. And one quote, I don't know if you watch the show Suits, but my favorite show of all time, Harvey Specter, amazing. He said, I know I'm on the right path because it's starting to get difficult. And it's true. When your goals are, number one, hard to achieve, and number two, you feel like you don't know where to go next. How are you going to do it? It feels very difficult. That means you're in the right direction. And I always tell people there's something called growing pains. There's always going to be that little hump that you got to overcome in order for you to become even more successful. Because now you're like, there might be a day where you're stressed and you have anxiety. How am I going to get through all this? I got so many things that are going on a daily basis. But once you get over that hump, right, that you just grew a little bit more. Now you kind of overcame that and you're like, okay, that's not that bad. Now you know how to get over that, and it's going to happen again. It's going to consistently go over. There's always going to be a wall that you have to overcome in business, but once you overcome that, you and your team just became stronger. And now you guys are going to be able to overcome a lot more turbulence whenever the business comes, because there's always going to be turbulence in our business. There's shit shows every single day, you know?
It's funny you say that. So, you know how they were saying, like, oh, there's a recession coming, like, be scared and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, wait. So you mean to tell me, like, we haven't been in a recession? Like, this wasn't a recession? Because I've been in a recession my entire life.
Right.
You know? And so for me, it wasn't a scary moment.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, well, now I just have to like shift, make
Right.
some changes,
Right.
and work harder,
Right.
grind.
Uh-huh. So,
It was actually a motivational period in my life,
yeah.
because I've always said, damn, like this is difficult. Like, this is hard.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden people, agents or whoever, they're saying, oh, it's going to get harder. Like this is going to get super hard. I'm like, damn, okay.
Right. You also can't listen to everybody though. Like the news, the media, all that stuff. Like I think that was the one blessing that I got was getting in the business during COVID.
Yeah.
Because everyone was like, oh my God, it's so great.
Right.
I couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah.
COVID or not, I got into business. I didn't know what a good interest rate when I first got into business. I didn't know 2.5%, 3% was like, oh my God, it's crazy.
Exactly.
So then the interest rate slowly started getting higher. I just didn't change what I was doing. I was doing events all the time. I was doing this. Nothing really changed. And now, you look back and you're like, oh shit, if I would have done more during then, I probably would have got a lot more business. I probably would have grew faster. And you kind of think about it, it's like, but it was a blessing in disguise, because now you're looking at back and you're like, oh damn, like I'm really naive. I don't know what a good market is. I don't know what a bad market is. I just put my head down and work.
Same.
So that's honestly what sets yourself apart amongst all the other people, because it could be very discouraging when you listen to the news. You're like, oh, there's a recession.
Right.
Business is down 20%. Mortgage applications down by 20%. And you're like, fuck, am my business going down?
Right.
Am I doing that? But again, you look at it in a positive light. Why do you think on social media I never talk negative about real estate? I never talk negative about people, agents, this. I just always keep a positive mindset, encourage everybody, make everybody grow. Yeah. I was always taught honey attracts bees. The more sweeter you are, you'll get more people to attract to you, So I always kind of like dive deep into the one question for you, okay? In the next 10 years, okay, as you continue to grow your team, obviously you spoke a little bit about Florida, and you talked a little bit about having both teams on both in Chicago and in Florida. For you, how does your life plan out, even for 10 or whenever you want to retire and all those things? What does your life, a happy life, look like for you? Is it more so family-based, retired with your family, traveling? What do you envision a happy life for you might be?
I feel that in this business, anxiety is so common.
Yeah.
And I'm practicing peace.
Yeah. That's important.
I feel that just being at peace and just having like that in your heart, that little bit of peace, goes a long way. And so I would say having my family around, traveling with them, again, that's our obsession. I'm building a portfolio. I have a few properties under my belt, and I want to continue to do that. But also in 10 years, my son is going to be 27. Oh my God. So hopefully I get to, see him. And if he has a family by then, I want to be able to be there, be like the best grandma in the world.
Yeah.
But I would say, just spending even more quality time with my family. That's it.
Do you see your happy life though retired, or do you see it continuing to work, but I guess on a scaled back? Like you don't have to work, you choose to work, but you don't actually have to continue to work.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, not 100% retired.
Yeah.
Just because I really, really like this.
Yeah.
It's like a battle within myself.
Yeah.
All the time. Like, it's a game.
Yeah.
And I get excited to play. And I don't want to give that up. I mean, ask me in 5 years. We'll do this again in 5 years.
Yeah, I know, right? Okay.
In 10 years, no, I don't see me retired. I see me, still involved, somewhat involved, and my kids taking over.
Oh, that's beautiful. So you see your kids in your team.
Absolutely.
No, I see the same thing. I think it's a dream of mine to, not that my kids have to join my team or have to be in mortgages, but I want to grow to the point where I do have, at some point I want to get into real estate development. I think that's cool. Yeah. But I want to get to a point where my kids can do anything, right? If they want to be a lawyer, accountant, whatever. But I want to be big enough to where my kids could potentially work for me.
Yeah.
right? Like if I need an accountant, like, hey, you'll
Right.
run my books. Hey, I need a lawyer. Hey, I need a lawyer for
Keep
this,
it in the
whatever, and keep it in the family and growing and
Absolutely.
giving them the opportunity. Or hey, I want to be the head of your business.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. You know, you'll take the shoes, and you could kind of tell with your kids which
Yeah.
one is gonna be
Oh,
the like
yeah.
the the head of everything,
Uh-huh.
versus who wants to be a little bit behind the scenes and everything. But I think that's a huge goal of mine.
Yeah.
And also, like we just talked about, is not having to work, not needing to work, but I choose to work.
Exactly.
I'm too crazy. I don't think I see myself retiring.
I
I'm
don't
too
see
like
you
I know.
retiring.
I'm always like always on
Yeah.
the go. But I do, similar to you, I love traveling with my family.
Yeah.
There's something about experiencing
Yeah.
different places with my family, traveling and hearing the waves of the beach. I envision there's some Frank Sinatra My Way. I always envision myself. This is like my motive. I motivates me every single day. If I ever want to motivate myself, I listen to that song by Frank Sinatra, and I just envision the beach, right? And I just I'm looking at the waves going by. I'm with my girl beside me, and you reflect on your entire journey of life, and you look back and you're saying, I don't have no regrets. I loved what I did, the empire that I built. Now it's time for me to pass along to my family. And that's like every single day I think about that.
Yeah.
And I always think like, am I doing enough?
Yeah.
What am I doing? What can I do on a daily basis? But then it goes back to that where it's like, yeah, this is what I'm working towards. And it kind of reassures me on everything you're doing on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
So, but last question, so that way everybody can know. What do you think is the hardest thing being a Latina in the industry that you're in, kind of growing the business, the obstacles that you overcome? What do you think the hardest obstacle you had to overcome while you were growing your business, being a Latina, a mom, 18 years old, all this? What do you think the hardest obstacle you had to overcome?
Myself.
That's a good answer.
Myself, because all the doubts, the limited beliefs, it was all in my head.
Wow.
I always said, oh, it's because I have an accent, or I'm scared to talk to them, or I don't have enough money. I'm not at their level. But once I had no choice but to start making money, that all changed for me. I was like, enough with the excuses. I would look in the mirror and say, you're the shit. You're the shit. You're the bomb.
Yeah, I love that.
And that's kind of, that's what I got to say about that.
I love that. I love that. Confidence is probably one of the most important parts about our business. And it's funny you say that. My uncle always told me, he's like, you're going to be successful because you have the drive, you have the desire to do it. The only person that's going to fuck it up is yourself.
Yeah.
And it's true.
Exactly.
It's true. That's the only difference between you becoming successful and not is yourself.
Yeah.
So,
Agreed.
Leyla, you have been a pleasure. I really do appreciate you coming out. Thank you so much for joining us, and for all the viewers. I hope that you guys have taken notes on everything we spoke about today. We really do appreciate everyone that watches, as always. Again, Leyla, thank you so much for your time today. But for everybody that's watching, if you have not liked, subscribed, and turned on your post notifications, this is the time to do so. So again, thank you guys so much for joining. Hope you guys have your cafecito and have a great rest of your day.